Let's begin now. The currency in circulation in the country dipped by 300 or 235.03% to 982.09 billion naira at the end of February from 3.29 trillion naira at the end of October 2022 on the back of the naira redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Figures obtained from the CBN reveal that 2.3 trillion naira was mopped up from circulation during the period under review. According to the CBN, the currency in circulation moved from 3.16 trillion naira to 3.29 trillion naira and 1.38 trillion naira in November 2022 and December 2022 and January 2023 respectively. The governor of the CBN, Godwin Emefiele, had in October 2022 announced plans to redesign the old 200, 500 and 1,000 naira note. Emefiele also announced deadlines for Nigerians to swap their old notes with the new notes. The governor decried the challenges associated with currency management, including the hoarding of banknotes by members of the public, with statistics showing that over 80% of currency in circulation was outside the vault of commercial banks. Other challenges he added included a shortage of clean and fit banknotes, with an attendant negative perception of the CBN, an increased risk to financial stability, an increasing ease and risk of counterfeiting evidence by several security reports. Away from Denale, former chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Ifweko Okauru, has urged the incoming government to focus on policies that will bring collective economic growth. She advised the incoming administration to create an enabling environment that will foster the private sector to thrive, which will also help reduce unemployment. Okauru spoke during the Harvard Kennedy School Alumni Association of Nigeria's dinner, where the association hosted 64 students from 24 countries on the Africa policy trek. Nigeria, for the first time, also hosted the Harvard trek, which was an opportunity for students whose backgrounds were in public policy and government administration to interact, learn, and understand policies in countries they visit. On her advice to the incoming administration, Okauru said the economy is at the heart of propelling a better quality of life for every Nigerian, and whatever government does, it must translate to a higher level of disposable income for everyone to live at the very minimum decent life. Also speaking on the sidelines, the president, Harvard Kennedy School Alumni Association of Nigeria, Adaora Ugu, said on such treks they come to find out about the country and talk to the public and private sector as they want to understand governance, policy and culture. And now, as the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari administration fizzles out, more sectoral leaders have been listing economic agendas for the president-elect. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has said that with the economy in its tumbling and fragile state, this political transition offers a great opportunity to chart a new course. Tied to the expectations from the new administration, the association, in the piece signed by Segun Ajayi Kadri, Director General, said the incoming government must permanently resolve the lingering difficulties with the currency transition, which has resulted in a more than 25% dip in sales of manufactured goods. The statement urged the incoming administration to direct the Central Bank of Nigeria and ensure that it complies with the prioritization of foreign exchange to the productive sector, particularly to manufacturers, to import raw materials, spares, and machineries that are not locally available. It also urged the administration to direct the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to admit all qualified applicant companies into the eligible customer scheme in order to allow them access to power as stipulated in the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005. It demanded that all relevant agencies of government are directed to ensure that the electronic call-up system at ports aimed at redressing the congestion works without fail. It also asked the incoming administration to ensure that the Finance Bill 2022, if not assented to before the transition, includes the critical input of the private or organized private sector, particularly the jettison of the high objectionable removal of the 10% investment allowance on the acquisition of plant and machineries in the Company Income Tax Act. Away from then, now the federal government raked in 10.1 trillion naira from the collection of value-added tax during the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. VAT is a 7.5% consumption tax administered by the Federal Inland Revenue Service when goods are purchased and services are rendered, and it is borne by the final consumer. Revenue generated from VAT is usually disbursed to the three tiers of government through the Federal Account or Federation Account Allocation Committee. An analysis of reports obtained from the National Bureau of Statistics show that the VAT earnings continue to rise annually throughout the 8-year period. The country earned 759.4 billion naira in 2015, 777.5 billion in 2016, 972.4 billion in 2017, and 1.1 trillion naira in 2018. VAT collections in 2019 amounted to 1.2 trillion, 1.5 trillion in 2020, and 2.1 trillion in 2021, while 2.5 trillion naira was paid in 2022. The significant increase in VAT collection in the past 2 years is not unconnected with the decision by the federal government in 2020 to increase the VAT rate from 5% to 7.5%. This was part of the tax reforms included in the 2019 Finance Act meant to help the government achieve its revenue projections. A group, Africa's Young Entrepreneurs, has said the new naira cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria has destroyed many businesses. In an open letter to the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, and signed by the president of the group, Dr. Sami Smart Francis, he lamented that the policies made it extremely difficult for individuals and businesses to gain access to cash, saying the cost of living and doing business skyrocketed, and many small business owners ran into losses and debts. It ordered that a cashless economy was supposed to make life easier, but this came with untold hardships as it turned into a nightmare. According to the letter titled, "You Have Killed Many Businesses in Nigeria," open letter to Emefiele, Dr. Smart Francis said long queues at banks, ATMs, and people even sleeping there overnight were a common sight, other than that workers could not get to their workplaces, with some trekking long distances as they could not get cash for transportation fare. He said the policy made it extremely difficult for individuals and businesses to gain access to cash, which was a huge blow to the entrepreneurial community and led to the inability of people to access essential goods and services, just as the cost of living and doing business skyrocketed and many small business owners ran into losses and debts. He said Emefiele's actions and inactions killed many businesses in Nigeria as farmers recorded massive losses as they watched their farm produce get rotten before their very eyes due to unavailability of the legal tender for transactions. Francis advised Emefiele to tread more carefully in the future when implementing policies and, most importantly, listen to the plight of the people. And now the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Transcorp Power Limited, Christopher Eze Afolokwe, has decried the financial cost associated with servicing equipment such as turbines outside the country. Eze Afolokwe said this following a tour of its facilities at Transcorp plant in Ughelli, Delta State, by a delegation from the Army War College of Nigeria as part of their entrepreneurial study tour. According to him, the fact that companies in Nigeria have to resort to incurring additional cost while servicing their turbines abroad remains a downside to the business. He said this was amounting to millions lost in the foreign currencies, which the country could have saved if these services could be sourced locally. Eze Afolokwe pointed out that Nigeria's overdependence on technical services from overseas was also bound to increasingly expose gas plants in the country to huge logistics challenges. He advocated the need for deliberate and significant improvement in the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. Iziafulukwe added that there is the urgent need for everyone involved to decisively tackle the current epileptic power supply in the country, because it is rather distressing for a country of over 200 million people to still be grappling with driving its economic and social activities with a meager 5,000 megawatts of electricity.